Once again, an amazing discovery's been made with Mars. And this time, it's about water. Not just water that might be running down slopes like they found in 2015, but water that actually exists as a liquid beneath the surface of Mars. Now, this might seem quite strange, and it's certainly surprising to a lot of people. But beneath the southern ice cap of Mars, there's a region of liquid water that's being held in place by the surrounding ice sheets and protected from radiation by those ice sheets as well. Now, this body of water is about 20 kilometers across and is detected by the European Space Agency's Mars Express satellite. Now, this is a pretty amazing discovery because it shows us that there is still places of liquid water on Mars. Granted, it'll be super cold in those regions, and it's probably liquid because it's under extraordinary amounts of pressure and contains a large amount of salt. Both of those conditions will mean that water melts at lower temperatures. Now, what is it like inside these subsurface lakes? Well, we know that they're protected from radiation, and they must be kept at some kind of temperature by some form of processes. So perhaps we've filled out some of the conditions necessary for life to exist. Wherever on Earth we've got protection from radiation and liquid water, we've pretty much found life. Examples of this can be found in subsurface lakes in Antarctica, which are teeming with life. So can we go forth and explore these lakes? Is anyone actually trying to do that? Well, there are some ideas floating around of missions in the future to go and explore these subsurface lakes. And in fact, there may be more than this first one that's been discovered. But the problem is, if this lake is any type of environment that our Earth life could survive in, we'd risk contaminating it if we went there to try and sample the water and find any specimens in it. Now, this is a pretty complex problem because how can you actually sample the water and determine if it's got life in it if you can't even touch it? Because if you take a probe from Earth and take it to Mars, it probably has some bacteria from Earth still on it because they're very resilient creatures. Now, if you take these resilient creatures and put them in an environment which they might enjoy more than traveling through space, they could probably do quite well in there. And there's the risk that they would outcompete any potential native Martian species living inside of that subsurface lake. So not only do we have the question of, can we understand these environments? Can we find more of these environments? There's also the question of, can we actually explore these environments? And who speaks for Mars in this case? I'm sure we all want to find out what's in those lakes, but how do we rationalize it? How do we stop ourselves from potentially destroying an ecosystem in hopes of finding that ecosystem?